Well, hello. It's time for another Feisty Friday. And I promised you last week that I would also do the task that I requested you do, which was to find a stone. So, that homework that I gave you last week was intentional, was purposeful, and might have also felt a little bit awkward, but that's okay because sometimes being slightly out of our comfort zone allows us to see things in a different light. I told you that I would bring my own stone, and well, I brought it, and here it is. This is my stone. And if it looks to you, if it looks to you like a heart, it is. It's actually a rose quartz. And I will say, I didn't technically find it the way that I sort of suggested you might want to find it, because after recording and writing, looked in my bedside table for something completely different. And I found this. I found it in my bedside table. And I remembered that this stone in particular, this little piece of rose quartz, was given to me for my birthday one year by a former employee. And when this employee gave it to me, they told me in particular that a rose quartz was associated with feminine energy and represented things like compassion and peace and tenderness and healing and comfort. And clearly, something about that meant enough for me to have kept it. Now, what it was doing on my bedside table, I can't tell you. Because my life happened and I've moved since I was given it twice. And somehow it found its way into my bedside table and I completely forgot about it. And then, after asking you to find a stone, I realized, hey, maybe I don't have to go to the beach. Maybe, particularly when I had completely forgotten about it and I found it by accident, maybe that counts as finding my stone. So this was my stone this week. And when I saw it, I immediately thought, yep, that's it. That's my stone. Now, you can say that it was a coincidence. You can say whatever you like. I think, in particular, finding this stone this last week, it matters to me, well, for lots of reasons. First of all, I love the former employee who gave it to me. And if you're watching, you know who you are. And I think also that, I didn't strategically place this in my bedside table. I literally didn't remember where it was. And of all the times for me to find it again, on the heels of this whole practice, this activity of the stone, and then of all the stones that I could have chosen, this one already represented something that was important for me: tenderness, peace, healing, compassion to myself. Things that I actually don't ever want to put down. I don't want to ever put down any of those things. And that had me thinking a little bit about how what I talked about last week needs to inform where I want to go this week. Because the exercise, I don't think, is simply just finding a stone and picking it up and thinking about what it signifies. I think it's actually about asking a question, which is, what are you carrying that you need to put down? What am I carrying that I need to put down? And what also deserves to come to you? Because not everything that we carry is a burden. We carry a lot of cool things, and some things have weight because they matter, but some things don't. And I don't always ask myself which. I know my relationships matter to me, responsibilities matter to me, having love, feeling love, having purpose. These are all really important things, and I don't want to put them down, and they have weight and value. But there are stones that I carry in my life that I need to throw away. Problem is, sometimes those stones get mixed up altogether with the other things, and it feels really hard. In fact, if you're like me, who's moved so many times and had so many transitions, you might begin to think of a lot of that stuff as baggage or crap. And we don't always take the time to evaluate. I know for me, sometimes I literally have experienced this where I'm packing because it's time to move, and I know that I should go through that entire drawer and evaluate, like my bedside table, whether these types of things need to stay or not. But to be honest with you, I'm too exhausted, or I don't want to think about it, or I don't want to go through the emotions of having to figure out what I keep and what I get rid of. So I will literally like take the whole thing and dump it in a box and tape the box up and write on it, bedside table. And then, when I've moved, dump all of it into the bedside table because I know it's going to fit, and not actually do the analysis. And I do the same thing in my professional life and in my understanding of who I am. Because there are a lot of things that I do need to get rid of. I need to get rid of when I feel ashamed. I need to get rid of needing to be liked, or even more important for me, needing to be right, needing to prove to others that I'm strong or that I'm successful or that I'm productive, or for that matter, that I'm healed enough to even share that others might want to get healed too. I mean, who am I to say? The healing is a journey, it is not a destination. So there are quite a few stones that I am carrying that I need to put down. And a lot of times when I pick up a stone, if I'm using the stone as an example of things that I'm carrying, when I put one down, I immediately pick up another. But all of these stones basically carry the same weight, but they're just dressed up in a different way. And I've caught myself doing this, maybe you have too. I've stopped measuring myself by how productive I am, and I've started to think about measuring myself and how good that I can be when I'm not accomplishing. Um, what happens if I don't make everybody happy? What if I literally become very, very vested in being the person with the best boundaries, with the quickest no's? And by no's, I mean saying no. Um, what if I just let down the need to look successful and instead concentrated on looking authentic, and not looking authentic, embodying that? Not caring so much about perfection, recognizing that growth is messy and uncomfortable, and all of these things are stones in my life. But they get dressed up in different outfits depending on what I care about. So I think it's worth noticing that when we put stones down, that actually can be the beginning of the freedom that all of us really deserve. You know, what if growth becomes, just that we actually are free? I never contemplated the freedom that I felt I wanted or thought I could experience. Um, I never valued that. I always thought the busyness was the worth. And what I've come to discover is I'm always picking up new stones, because when I'm putting one down, even when I've made a good conscious decision to do so. So I'm not going to be ashamed that I just wrote and sent that email. Even though I may regret some of the things I said in that email, I'm not going to feel the shame of it. As soon as I put that down, I don't have to pick anything more up, but I do so often. And I think for me, what I'm discovering is I have a problem. I have a problem with empty hands. Because, when you've carried something for a really long time, when you're not carrying it anymore, it can feel really weird. This last week, in trying to practice thinking about the things that I am committed to, I've always been the strong one. I've always been the one who everybody comes to. I've always been the person who achieves everything. I'm the person who, if I say I'm going to do it, it's done. And I built my identity around all of that. And when people don't need me to be that, I really struggle to know what to do with myself. I think it's because I've grown so accustomed to the weight, the weight of expectations of others, the weight that I put on myself. And of course, I've shared it with you last week, and the many, many, many weeks leading up to the transition to the Feisty Human, that I've mistaken the weight for my identity. And so when I finally put the stones down, um, it's almost like I want to pick stones up just so I can feel the weight, just so I can know who I am based on the expectations that are on me. And for me, it's because carrying something feels familiar. But here's the important part. Here's what I want to begin to think consciously and practice for myself, and invite you to do the same. If you identified a stone in your life last week, something you're ready to put down, don't rush to replace it. Just let your hands be empty for a while. For me, I will tell you, the fact that it's August of 2026, I feel slightly less uncomfortable in warmer weather. I don't know why. And for some of you, it's not warm. For some of you, August, wherever you live in the globe, it's not summer. But for me, it's summer here. And there seem to be other things that I can do with myself that feel worthy. So I feel like doing this practice this time of year is slightly easier. But letting your hands be empty, not picking up extra things when you put that stone down. Noticing that it is going to make you feel uncomfortable, and for me, maybe less so right now, but think of the things that you immediately go to replace it with. So I'll let you know. For me, if I'm feeling anxious about an email that I just sent, which I am, the first thing I want to do is I want to fix other emails, or I want to send another email on top of that and explain why I'm feel badly about the email that I sent. And I want to fix, or if I can't fix that situation, I want to fix other situations so that they won't happen. But very rarely do I ask myself, well, can I just handle the discomfort, just the in between? Can I just create a bit of a gap there? Can I say to myself, do I actually want to carry the shame that I feel, or can I just set it down? Stop asking myself the question will I be embarrassed? Of course I'll be embarrassed. I'm already embarrassed. But embarrassment is okay. I can survive embarrassment. What's it going to show? Is it going to show that I don't have my shit together? Maybe. Is it going to show that I'm vulnerable? Maybe. So what? I don't have my shit together. I am vulnerable. But do I deserve to feel ashamed for that? Why? Why? Because I want to be perfect? Because I'm used to the weight. So I'm keeping this stone. I'm not going to get rid of this one, not because I need another thing to carry, but because when I found it again, it reminded me of something I do want to bring forward. And that is, I want to bring forward compassion to myself. I want to hold myself with tenderness in the mistakes that I make, in the emails that I send. I want to practice peace. And practicing peace means choosing to experience it, not waiting for it to come to me. And I certainly want healing. I want healing from a lot of the trauma I've experienced, and I want healing in the form of growth and learning about myself. So maybe the work is not always about putting every stone down. Maybe it is also about finally realizing that we get to choose the ones that deserve a place in our lives. And unlike me, when I'm tired and I just dump the whole shelf into a box to move it, maybe it is important that we think about, evaluating whether the things in that drawer all need to come, or the stones that we're carrying, do they all need to still be carried? Because putting down the stone is one thing, but not replacing it right away, that is the beginning of freedom. And I want freedom. And I think very likely you do too. So have a great week. Let's move forward with purpose. And as always, stay feisty.